Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. Today we are talking about the difference of learning versus consuming. Now, most men spend a ton of time consuming, but not enough time learning. More importantly, most of the coaching clients I get to work with and other men I talk to don't realize there's a difference. Over consuming without learning, application, and action are keys to mistaking activity for progress. So, moving from consuming to learning can help you actually process the information you're taking in and make the changes to apply to your life that result in meaningful progress in the areas that matter most. Now, there's nothing wrong with consuming. There's so much great information out there in just about every topic you could ever want to improve in spiritually, physically, emotionally, productively, relationally. The list goes on and on. And not only is every topic so accessible, but it's so readily available in such a wide range of sources. You can pull up a podcast on your way to work, listen to a book on Audible during your lunch break, read blog articles and weekly emails, watch YouTube videos, and probably so many other things that I'm not even aware of. And I think that's great. I think we're at a unique time when we have so much amazing information at our fingertips. There's only one problem though, consuming without learning. Many people I talk to are lacking in intentionality behind all the consuming. Simply consuming more information on working out does not make you more fit. Reading more about the latest nutrition information and best practices does not get you lean. Attending an expensive lecture or conference doesn't guarantee carryover into your personal or work life. And reading about how to make you productive doesn't get more work done. And getting lost in productivity hacks and tips actually probably makes you far less productive. And if you don't know your goal behind why you're listening, and if you don't have a way to process and reflect on what you're consuming, you fall into the myth of feeling like you're making progress. And I know how easy it is to fall into the trap of thinking that it's beneficial to just consume more and more and more information to better yourself. All these things they seem good. They seem good on the surface, but that's because there's so much good stuff out there that it feels impossible to keep up. And that results in some serious FOMO or fear of missing out. But I know the importance of this topic because it's one that I've fallen into at various points in my life without even realizing it. I consumed everything I could on different topics that interested me or were relevant, but this led me to two main problems. The first being anxiety. I felt like I couldn't keep up, and if I missed the latest episode, blog article, or video, that I'd fall behind. And second, I was lacking actual progress. I told myself that I was being so productive, learning so much, and getting so much done, but what did I really have to show for it? What true progress was I making? When I asked myself some of these tough questions, I realized not as much as I thought. My recall wasn't great, which was a major red flag that I was not processing what I was taking in. And I would say things like, "Oh, I heard a great podcast on that topic," when it would come up in a conversation with friends. And when they followed up and asked what I got from it, I would kind of stumble through my responses and finish with something like, "Oh, but you should definitely check it out." And if any of this sounds familiar, then you'll need a mindset shift like I had to go through. So let's talk about some key steps to shift from consuming to learning to help you actually progress in your life in the areas that matter the most. And that's the most important thing, is that you're seeing progress in those areas that matter. Now, first, challenge yourself to recap what you just listened to. This could be writing down your top takeaways, talking to a friend or spouse about what you learned, or simply reciting it in your head. True learning is the ability to concisely summarize what you just consumed. Second, let go of any anxiety you feel or the fears that more is better. Speaking from experience here, that content is going to disappear if you do ever end up needing it. And things are more searchable and accessible than they've ever been. Don't fear missing the next big thing. The things that are timeless will keep coming back and are still the most relevant. Third point here, don't be afraid to stop when it doesn't interest you or if it doesn't seem relevant to what you're going through. There's way too much good info out there to feel like you have to finish what you started. It's okay to start a book, start a podcast, start something, and not see it through. Now, unless you're listening to this podcast, then that's not okay. Just messing with you guys, but don't be afraid to stop. It's okay. You don't have to finish everything that you start. There's too much other good stuff out there to let that get in the way. Fourth point here, don't be afraid to read, listen, or watch something multiple times. Rarely does comprehension happen just one time through. And there's nothing that says you can't or shouldn't listen to something multiple times through. My wife thinks I'm a little weird, but there are several books that I've read at least 5 times, some maybe closer to 10 times at this point. And it's because the ones that are important and impactful need to be revisited regularly. They can't be read once and then expect you to just understand it all. These are topics that authors have poured themselves into, or people that have a ton of experience, and it's going to take multiple times through to start to really process that. Last point here, look for ways to specifically apply what you learned into your specific situation or life. Start asking more reflective questions, things such as, how does this apply to my life? Does this agree with other things I've learned, my values, and what I believe? What is one thing I can take from this and get started on today? These types of questions will help make sure that you're not just consuming without processing and really learning. Now, you could continue to just consume at a high rate without retaining very much useful info, but beware of the dangers of this. It becomes a numbers game of listening to more and more in order to retain more. And this is a slippery slope that makes you believe that you always need to be consuming in order to be improving. Instead, think less, but better. Imagine how much better it would be to comprehend and apply more of what you're listening to, more of what you're reading. And if you move from actually processing and applying, say, 10% of what you're listening to, which might be generous for some people, to 50% of what you're listening to, then you can either make 5 times the progress in these areas or make exactly the same amount of progress while spending 5 times less time actually consuming these things. And that's 5 times of your life back, 5 times of your time back to do other things that you love, or spend that time with the people that you love and people that matter. So start right now, write down your key takeaways from today's show, or better yet, go talk to someone about what you learned. It's time to stop blindly consuming and to start applying and taking action. If this was helpful and you're looking for more clarity and action steps in other areas of your life, make sure to head to the link in the show notes to download the free PDF of the 5 steps you need to achieve big goals. This is the same process I use with our Men Made for More coaching clients, and can be an incredible way to get more clarity in the areas that matter most. So don't wait. Summarize this episode, whether it's a recap of your own, write down a few notes, and go talk to someone about what you learned. Thanks for listening, guys. Go apply this and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys next week.